We all procrastinate. We all do it. And it always feels like this epic battle of willpower, right? A battle that, let's be honest, we lose pretty often. But what if that whole way of thinking about it is just wrong? Today, we're going to try to hack procrastination, but we're throwing out the psychology playbook and picking up a physics textbook instead.
Ah, yes, the classic. I'll get serious starting tomorrow. We've all been there. You've got that giant project, that deadline is getting closer and closer, but the call of just 5 more minutes on social media is just too strong. But here's the thing. What if this isn't about being lazy? What if it's just a core part of how our brains are actually programmed to work?
So, yeah, why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we keep choosing that tiny little hit of pleasure right now over, a huge success in the future? Well, the standard answer comes from behavioral economics, and it really gets to the heart of how we're all wired.
Okay, so first up, let's get into the true nature of procrastination. We're going to pull back the curtain on what is really going on inside our heads. And here's a spoiler. It's not a character flaw. It's actually a cognitive bias.
And it's called present bias. See, our brains are basically hardwired to put a huge value on what's right in front of us right now. That little dopamine buzz you get from a new notification, that's a small, immediate reward. The deep satisfaction of finishing a massive project? Well, that's a larger but later reward. And thanks to present bias, that tiny instant reward wins almost every single time.
But this is where we're going to take a really interesting turn. Let's just try to reframe this entire problem. Forget psychology for a second. What if procrastination wasn't some kind of moral failure of willpower, but was actually something more like a law of physics?
And this slide really lays out that huge shift in thinking. The old view just piles on the guilt, right? It blames weak willpower. But this new view, the one inspired by physics, it points to a totally different culprit, not enough observation. And that, right there, changes everything. It means the solution isn't about trying to be stronger, it's about being smarter.
So, I want you to imagine your focus is like a single, tiny particle, and it's perfectly zeroed in on your task. Now, what happens if you just leave that particle unobserved? It naturally, inevitably, starts to spread out. It diffuses. Your attention just drifts to your phone, to your email, to literally anything else. That drift, that diffusion, that is procrastination.
So, if leaving our focus unwatched is the problem, what's the solution? Well, this is the cool part. It's surprisingly simple. It's almost magical, and it all comes down to the power of just looking. Now, this idea is based on a real concept from quantum physics called the quantum Zeno effect. And don't worry, we are not about to dive into super complex science here. We're just borrowing the idea as a really powerful metaphor. Basically, in simple terms, the more you observe something, the less likely it is to change. Just think about that old saying, a watched pot never boils. By constantly observing the pot, you're metaphorically freezing it in place. And we can do the exact same thing with our focus.
So how do we actually apply this? It's super easy. Try the 5-minute observation technique. You just set a timer for 5 minutes, work on your task, and when it goes off, you don't stop working. You just take a single second to observe your own progress. You just think, okay, yep, still working on that report. That's it. That simple act of observing yourself is enough to collapse that fuzzy, diffused focus back to a single point. You're literally pinning your attention in place.
And here's where your everyday tools become part of the system. Don't just write a to-do list and then tuck it away somewhere. Start thinking of it as your own personal observation device. Write your one current super small task on a sticky note and stick it right on your computer monitor. Keeping that task visible at all times acts like a constant passive observation, locking your focus right where you want it. Okay, on to our next technique. Move the future with the power of now. Now, this one is really clever, because it actually takes the problem, that present bias we talked about, and it turns it into the solution. Let's check it out. So remember present bias? It makes us totally ignore distant consequences, like a deadline that's a week from now. But it is extremely sensitive to what is happening right now. So we're going to use that. The whole trick is to create an immediate, right now consequence for procrastinating. So what does this look like? You can make a pact with a friend. Hey, if I don't finish writing this chapter by 5 p.m., I'm buying you dinner tonight. All of a sudden, the pain of procrastinating isn't some fuzzy future thing. It's immediate, it's social, and it involves your wallet. Declaring your goal on social media, or even using one of those apps that charges you money if you fail works the exact same way. You're building an immediate force field that just makes distraction way less tempting.
All right, Our final technique, turn a huge wall into stairs. This one is specifically for those giant, terrifying projects that feel so big you don't even know where to start. We're going to learn how to take that intimidating wall and turn it into a simple set of stairs.
You know that feeling? When you look at a task like write a 20-page research paper, your brain just sees this massive, impossibly high wall. The energy it would take to get over it feels infinite. So what's your brain's natural energy-saving response? To just, nope, to run away and do anything else.
So the solution is to quantize the task. And I know, that's another physics term, but all that means is to break something down into its smallest possible units. So don't think about the whole paper. Break it down into the tiniest, most laughably small steps. Your first step isn't write the intro. No way. It's open a new document. The next step is write my name. Then write one sentence. Each step is so small it feels like it takes zero effort. You're not climbing a wall anymore, you're just taking one easy step at a time.
And that brings us to our final and maybe the most powerful section of all. You are not lazy. Because really, all of these techniques are pointing toward a huge mindset shift. It's a new, more compassionate, and way more effective way of seeing yourself.
This is it. This is the core takeaway of this whole explainer. You don't procrastinate because you lack willpower. You procrastinate because your observation interval is too long. You just let too much time pass between your self-check-ins, and that lets your focus drift away. Procrastination is not a who you are problem, it's a how you work problem, and that's a problem you can solve.
So I'll just leave you with this question. The next time you feel that pull, that drift towards distraction, don't beat yourself up about it. Just ask yourself, okay, how can I shorten my observation interval right now? How can I just look at what I'm doing to snap my focus back into place? It's a game changer. Thanks for watching.